great to be here with citizen activists who are trying to prevent the playground from being alienated. And I'm here to urge the governor to veto the legislation because this opens up a Pandora's box. We should not be giving away public assets like parks and libraries for luxury towers. We need green space in this city. The community is totally against this, yet the power of big real estate developers seems to be overarching this entire project. But I'm hoping that the governor does the right thing because we need state legislation to alienate a playground, and I'm hoping he vetoes it. So I'm proud to be here with all of these activists today, urging Governor Cuomo to veto the legislation that would alienate the Marx Brothers playground. It's a great facility. We need more green space, not less. So Governor, please veto the bill. Thank you.
Today, this broad-based coalition of civic organizations and residents are here to call on Governor Cuomo to veto parkland legislation before him. The seizing of this public parkland for private development would set a terrible precedent citywide. The signing of this irresponsible legislation would open the floodgates for future development and signify that parks are for sale. Parks don't have development rights, they are parks. And the mayor's response to this criticism is, quote, anyone saying the status quo is better is turning a blind eye to the community's need for better schools and homes people can afford. This is ridiculous. Quite simply, this is a $1 billion giveaway to a private developer at the expense of the public. There is no doubt that the city needs schools, and especially in East Harlem. But this irresponsible plan is certainly not the way to achieve this. It is the city and the state's responsibility to build schools, not make deals with developers. Developing public parkland is not the answer. Parks must be protected. The mayor's trying to get one over on the governor, and we hope this is prevented. I'd like to bring up Lo Vandervalk from Carnegie Hill Neighbors.
Yeah, my name is Lo Vandervalk. I'm president of Carnegie Hill Neighbors. We are actually not at the site, but quite near. We're about 4 blocks away from the site. And we have been, just recently, we have had a very active petition drive. I gave half of our petitions already to the governor on Thursday, and the petitions kept flooding in, and this is what we've collected in the last 3 days. People that live in our neighborhood are very concerned about parks and preserving the character of parks, and they're also concerned about not turning parks into development sites. And that, we think, is the key issue here. And we are here to urge the governor to veto this alienation bill, because once alienated, it's very hard to undo it and to bring it back to its status. It's totally different from the earlier version, which was to alienate a strip of the park and use it as a staging area for the 2nd Avenue subway. That would be returned. It hasn't been returned yet, but it would be. However, this park will be alienated, and on the site, which is a prime site on the avenue, lots of sun for the playground, will come a very high tower, 700 feet tall. And the park will be moved to the middle, but it can't be returned to the parks because then the building becomes illegal. This has to do with technicalities such as FAR, but the building has to, an area of land around the building has to support the height and the volume of the building in terms of square feet. So we are very worried about the legal technicalities, and we've asked the governor to look into this very carefully. We hope that he will veto it. And we're very thankful to support of various organizations. So I'm going to turn it back to you. Geoffrey, please continue.
Thank you very much. I just want to give a special shout out to the Carnegie Hill Neighbors. They've been tremendous and really carrying this torch for a better part of a year. Next speaker, I'd like to bring up Carter Strickland, Trust for Public Land. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Geoffrey. Good morning. So we have to ask ourselves what kind of city we want, right? We need places to grow, to breathe. We need room. The more people that come to the city, frankly, we need to think about more parkland. Trust for Public Land maps out where people are a 10-minute walk from a park, but we also care about quality parks and having enough parks. And we're worried that should this go through, it'll be too tempting to take other parkland for development. And that's just not the kind of city we want to see in 20, 50 years from now. So we're urging the governor to veto this bill. This is why we have protections against alienation to make sure that these land grabs don't happen, and this can happen here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carter. Next up, I'd like to bring up Elizabeth Goldstein from the Municipal Art Society.
Good morning, everyone. We urge the governor to veto this alienation legislation because we can't trade parks for affordable housing or schools. We need all three. We need more of all three, not less.
Next, we'd like to bring up Megan from New Yorkers for Parks.
My name is Megan Douglas. I'm the Director of Communications with New Yorkers for Parks. We are a citywide independent advocacy organization for open space. New Yorkers for Parks' own published research found that the areas immediately surrounding Marx Bros playground are insufficiently served by open space, both in terms of access and the amount of open space. They are also suffering the health consequences of insufficient open space. They have higher than average rates of hospitalization for asthma, particularly child hospitalization, also higher than average rates of diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. So the alienation of this parkland would set an extremely dangerous precedent for parkland all across the nation, all across the city, particularly in an area that is already lacking in open space. So what we really need to do as a city is find a way to accommodate both growth and protection and creation of new open space. Thank you.
I have no permission to speak from the community board. I'm speaking for myself as a resident of East Harlem, 96th Street to 142nd Street, Fifth Avenue to the river. The fact that this project sets up very important precedents that's not to be overlooked. When the rules for alienation moved over to a developer with no benefits coming back, people did not understand in my community. In my community, we're stressed about air quality, we're stressed about housing, we're stressed about financial needs. No one had any idea that when they thought they were voting for a new high school, they were in fact voting away a piece of public property, which is per land. Any jointly operated parks, and there are many in Community Board 11, are now in jeopardy if this alienation does not stop and goes through as just not developed at all. Then we will lose many open fields. For the tots, there are plenty of playgrounds, but the open fields for the youth and the place to express themselves and their sports is going to be totally eliminated. I, for myself personally, am totally against this, and I beg the governor to intercede and not sign. Thank you so much.
I also wanted to thank the other organizations here today, the Historic Districts Council, Friends of the Upper East Side, New York Landmarks Conservancy, Landmarks West, Human Scale NYC, and residents of East Harlem, which is very important, and it will impact many people.